We have a team now that we'd like to hear from. Megan's from Indiana. This team is actually from Ohio, and their project focused on East Cleveland, which is a particular neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio. And part of their journey was discovering the long-term impact of what's known as redlining on policy or lack of policy that they recommend need to be in place to address hunger and food insecurity. Hello, and by the way, they're an amazing team of three. They're known as the Three Musketeers, as you can see from their slide. And two of them are actually off in Ecuador at this point. That's Kaylee and Grant. So welcome, team. All right, so Madeline, I think you're going to lead off, right?
No,
Hi.
it's actually Kaylee.
Oh, a change of plans. Okay, Kaylee, so you're going to lead off.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. We are the Baldwin Wallace University Rotaract Club located in Berea, Ohio, near Cleveland. And we're also known as the Three Musketeers. I'm Kaylee McKee, the president of our Rotaract Club.
And hello, I'm Grant Cordell. I am the club service chair of our Rotaract Club.
And I'm Madeline Robinson, our vice president.
So the focus of our peace project is on East Cleveland, Ohio.
And East Cleveland is part of Cuyahoga County, which is home to an expansive history with a range of different cultures that holds one of the largest cities in the U.S., Cleveland. Cuyahoga County is in Northeast Ohio and is part of the greater Cleveland area.
The population of East Cleveland, Ohio is 17,321, and it's a community that's predominantly African American, which is 90.6% of the population.
And so from a quick Google search, as seen in the bottom left corner, there's not a lot of good things seen about East Cleveland Ghetto, East Cleveland Hood, East Cleveland City Schools. And that's popular because this city has the worst schools in the state of Ohio. And unfortunately, none of these things reflect a peaceful community.
Cleveland is one of the most segregated cities in the United States, and the east side of Cleveland is an area that was mostly affected by redlining in the 1930s.
The effects of redlining is responsible for low socioeconomic level of today, and it includes lower owner occupancy of houses, a high crime rate, and then a high poverty rate.
The largest demographic living in poverty is women. Therefore, they are the most vulnerable to being food insecure.
So the issue today is the maps of redlined areas and food deserts are almost identical. This is evident in East Cleveland as grocery stores range from 0.6 miles away to 2 miles away from residents.
The presence of hunger and food insecurity that minority women in East Cleveland face is a human rights issue. It's impossible for psychological needs and self-fulfillment needs to be met if the basic needs are not.
The manifestation of hunger is so much more than just an empty stomach. It's a child not being able to focus in school and people being forced to eat innutritious foods, which promotes health problems and chronic illnesses such as diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and cancer, all because that is what is accessible and or affordable to these community members. The purpose of our peace project is to address the need of minority impoverished women of East Cleveland through creating advocacy and awareness of their struggle with food insecurity due to housing instability, low levels of education, and lack of financial security and opportunity.
And more importantly, this peace project wishes to help initiate policies that promote peace.
While instilling peace, we saw that the main problem here in East Cleveland is that there is not an equitable distribution of resources or a well-functioning government. Our research supported that food insecurity in East Cleveland is structural and cultural violence. Those who are suffering are a minority group, and the government is not responding to their needs.
So for our project, it consisted of researching local nonprofits and interviewing them about how policy impacts the women of East Cleveland and how it affects the presence of hunger in East Cleveland area. We then wrote a detailed paper consisting of 12 pages, which was sent to civic leaders that expanded upon the hardships that these women face due to policy or lack of, and the solutions we proposed civic leaders to take.
We chose this as our project because we could leverage the dedication of these organizations to make our project successful, and because the private interviews with them allowed for more in-depth conversations, which led to more specific answers and ultimately solutions.
So the image on this slide is a layout of the summary that was sent to civic leaders. Each section not only contained hard data and statistics, but it included powerful first-person experiences.
By making our final product of this project be a written summary and a request for action, the work of the nonprofits was showcased, and the gravity of food insecurity in East Cleveland was emphasized, and viable solutions were offered to those responsible for the community of East Cleveland, the civic leaders.
Since nonprofits are often spread thin and the timeline for this project was limited, we faced difficulty interviewing organizations. However, the organizations that participated contributed significantly to our project and offered invaluable insight into the issue. And we were able to meet our goal of having the input of at least 3 organizations.
Greater Cleveland Food Bank, Union Miles, and Famicos Foundation are all organizations that see how hunger is caused by and causes other social detriments of health, including employment, housing, and education. These nonprofits reiterated that food insecurity is often ignored by those who are not directly affected, which is a reason that the local government in Cleveland does not actively promote food security.
During the pandemic, it shed light on the issue of food insecurity, and the government gave assistance to these organizations to combat food insecurity during this time. This assistance made it possible to serve more families, and it's evidence that governmental action and policy does help.
So here are our proposed solutions to the politicians. Our first was adding a line item specifically for funding for food distribution organizations to the budget. This would allow organizations to spend less time and resources trying to find additional funding to continue to support the community, and more time aimed towards addressing the need more efficiently. The refusal of Ohio Senate Bill 17 is imperative because this bill will make it harder for residents to maintain their SNAP benefits by requiring households to report all financial changes, including wage increases of any kind, within 10 days to Job and Family Services, and making those with more than $2,250 in assets lose their eligibility. This bill will force people to choose one necessity over another and punish people for saving even a small amount of money, creating dependency instead of self-sufficiency. Advocacy for pay-to-stay legislation is crucial because if one does not have housing stability, it is almost certain that they will face food instability. This legislation would allow the tenant to pay back owed rent before their eviction hearing, thus maintaining stability in the meantime. This is especially important for our user profile, the impoverished African-American woman, because 78% of evictions that occur in Cleveland are for women-led households and 77% are for African-American households.
Our fourth solution is instilling educational programs in East Cleveland City school districts. It would be focused on teaching the youth about healthy foods, balanced diets, and meal preparation, as even if they have access to healthy foods, that doesn't mean that they know how to prepare it. Our fifth would be prioritizing building relationships with nonprofit organizations and residents of the community. Through civic engagement, physical situations and appearances, and verbal conversations, it will build trust in the government. If they were to partake in this action, many of the nonprofits and residents' passion would become theirs as well.
Another solution for politicians to take is to help improve public transportation. In Cleveland, the public transportation system needs work. Improving public transportation is advantageous because it allows for more individual freedom and, more importantly, easier access to essentials such as food to provide for a family. Lastly, we advocated for support of nonprofits through verbal advocacy or physical volunteering on behalf of the politicians. And to a civic leader, this solution is advantageous because through it, they are able to build trust within the community and within the organizations in the community they serve while promoting their message as a public figure.
So these are the civic leaders that we sent our summary to. Not only did we include councilmen or counselors that are in charge of the wards that these organizations are serving, but we also included those who are directly trying to improve the food insecurity situation in Cleveland and food policy. So thank you all for listening about our peace project surrounding this issue in East Cleveland. And a special thanks to all that helped make this project possible, including the participating nonprofits, our team mentor, Alan, and community and campus leaders.
All right, thanks, team. And of course, when you're presenting, you can't be seeing the chat at the same time, but I assure you, people are really intrigued by your project there and giving you lots of thumbs up. Some things I really appreciate is that you so beautifully illustrated the two of the 8 pillars, well-functioning government and equitable distribution of resources and how those intersect.